There's a video going around right now, a young woman looking at her phone. She's $28,000 in debt, and she smiles, says she's going to treat herself anyway. This isn't a joke. She's serious. You might think that's just one person making a bad call. But what you're seeing is something way more dangerous. A money pattern that's wrecking lives at every income level. People making $40,000 a year, people making $400,000 a year, different salaries, same disaster at the end. And here's the scary part. Most people don't realize they're broke until the paychecks stop. By the end of this, you'll see why making more money actually makes the problem worse a lot of times. It doesn't fix it. It makes it worse. Let's start with families that look fine on paper. $140,000 a year. 2 parents working, 2 kids, house in the suburbs, just outside the city. She looks at what they spend and says it feels like a lot of money. Then she goes through it piece by piece. Mortgage, childcare, groceries, gas, utilities. Stuff for the kids, all gone. Quick. And yeah, some places are just expensive, that's real. But look what happens in the comments. Everyone agrees. They're spending the same. Some are spending more. One person just casually mentions their numbers. Mortgage alone is $100,000 a year. Private school is another $180,000. They're paying $120,000 a year just servicing credit card debt. They talk about these numbers like they're talking about the weather, like this is just what normal life costs now. At some point, what people call normal has nothing to do with what's actually sustainable. Here's what most people don't get. There's a difference between living somewhere expensive and choosing to live an expensive lifestyle. Where you live costs money. But expanding your lifestyle? That's a choice. Convenience turns into habit. Making meals gets replaced with ordering out. Subscriptions add up without you noticing. Vacations get nicer. The house gets a little bigger than you need because you can afford it. This is lifestyle creep at its clearest. Your income goes up. Your spending goes up to match it. Not because it has to, because it feels justified. The nicer house becomes your new normal. The better car becomes standard. The extra services become things you can't imagine cutting. Once that line moves up, pulling it back down feels like going backwards, like failing. Here's the math that matters. Make $140,000, spend $140,000. You're not stable, you're fragile. On paper, everything looks okay. Bills are paid. Credit score looks fine. Social media looks comfortable. But take away that income for 6 months, the whole thing falls apart. Could your lifestyle survive losing your job? Most people never ask themselves that. They think things are stable because the money keeps showing up. But income isn't guaranteed. Your bills are. When you build a life that needs constant high income just to keep running, any drop in that income becomes a crisis, even if it's temporary. Now let's look at what happens when someone's whole setup depends on money that was never stable in the first place. Move up the income scale. Content creators making $300,000 to $400,000 a year. Finance people getting 6-figure bonuses. On paper, they've figured out money. But some of them are still living paycheck to paycheck. One influencer admitted she was spending $30,000 to $40,000 a month while making $60,000 to $100,000 a month. That sounds fine at first, until you think about 2 things. That income isn't guaranteed, and that level of spending becomes a habit. This is the trap. Income that goes up and down paired with costs that stay the same. When money keeps flowing in for years, your brain starts treating it like it's permanent. The fancy apartment becomes normal. International trips become expected. Being generous with friends becomes part of who you are. Your lifestyle grows to match your best earning years. But income from entertainment, social media, jobs that pay big bonuses, it's never stable long-term. Trends change, markets shift, companies reorganize, bonuses shrink, and suddenly your base salary can't cover the life you built when things were good. Wall Street shows another version of this. Bonuses make up a huge chunk of what people actually earn. Some spend all year long assuming the year-end bonus will fill the gap. They burn through more than their base salary pays, betting that December will save them. That works. Until it doesn't. The bonus comes in smaller than expected, or doesn't come at all. The gap becomes real. Your fixed costs don't adjust on their own. The expensive apartment still wants rent. The premium habits still need funding. The more you make, the easier it is to justify upgrades, better building, nicer restaurants, premium everything. Your baseline moves up, and once it moves up, bringing it back down feels like you're losing part of yourself. The irony is brutal. The higher your income, the harder you fall. When you don't have discipline, big numbers just hide the problem longer. When things finally drop, it hits hard. And this isn't just influencers or Wall Street traders. Someone making a solid six-figure salary falls into this the exact same way. It only takes one thing going wrong. Let's talk about what happens when the paychecks stop. $126,000 a year, about $10,000 a month before taxes. For a lot of people, hitting that number feels like you've made it, like you're finally stable, secure. Then you get laid off. Takes 6 months to find another job. No emergency fund. $72,000 already in debt. Notice something important. The collapse didn't start when you lost the job. It started years before, during the good years, when money was coming in and saving felt optional. This is what happens with steady paychecks. Money shows up every 2 weeks like clockwork. Your brain assumes it always will. So you expand. Better apartment, nicer car, more eating out, more comfort in general. But income isn't permanent, your bills are. When the job goes away, the math gets simple and harsh. Rent doesn't stop. Insurance doesn't stop. Minimum payments don't stop. Without cash saved up, you have to use credit cards to survive. Groceries go on the card. Gas goes on the card. Utilities go on the card. Every swipe just pushes the problem into the future and makes it bigger. And here's where it gets worse. High earners usually have higher fixed costs, bigger apartments, higher car payments, bigger monthly bills. The rate you burn through money during unemployment is faster. $10,000 a month used to feel like plenty. Now even $5,000 in expenses drains whatever you have left at terrifying speed. Without breathing room, 6 months can completely reshape your financial life. The regret in this story says it all. Looking back and realizing that learning to budget when you were making $126,000 would have been way easier than trying to dig out from $72,000 in high-interest debt. Income doesn't protect you. Having margin protects you. If you spend everything you make, you're not wealthy. You're exposed. You just can't see it until the money stops coming. So where does this pattern actually start? Let's go back to where it begins. Remember that young woman? $28,000 in debt? She's working 2 full-time jobs, paying her own rent, handling her own bills. And because she's working that hard, she's decided she's not going to tell herself no anymore. It sounds like independence, like standing up for yourself. But financially, it's a disaster happening in slow motion. Debt doesn't care how tired you are. Credit card interest doesn't take a break because you worked 70 hours last week. Being able to make minimum payments isn't proof that you're managing your money. It's proof the debt is still there, growing quietly in the background. What's really happening here isn't about money. It's about emotion. She's not buying stuff. She's buying relief. When you're exhausted, when you're completely drained. Spending money feels like control. It feels like a reward. Your brain starts connecting that purchase with a temporary feeling of relief. Over time, it becomes automatic. Work yourself to death. Feel stressed. Spend money. Repeat. That's how "I deserve this" turns into your money strategy. The problem is math doesn't care about your feelings. 28,000 in high-interest debt creates thousands of dollars in interest every year, which means part of your future paycheck is already spoken for. You're working today to pay for emotional decisions you made yesterday. And here's what most people miss. It's not one huge purchase that destroys you, it's making the small ones feel normal. The nicer coffee, the weekend treat, the random thing that felt justified at the time. If you can't say no to $50, you're not going to say no to 500. Once 500 feels normal, 5,000 won't feel crazy. It'll feel reasonable. This is where living beyond your means starts. Not with mansions or private jets. It starts with emotional spending dressed up as taking care of yourself. And this way of thinking doesn't stay small. The second your income grows, it grows right along with it. But what happens when someone gets way more money than they're ready to handle? Not a raise, not a promotion. Hundreds of thousands showing up overnight. That's when things explode. Start with a woman who won a $1 million scratch-off ticket. After taxes, about $555,000. Not unlimited money, but absolutely life-changing for most people. 8 years later, gone, every single dollar. Then there's the guy who won $13.3 million. Took the lump sum. After taxes, about $6 million. Less than 10 years later, that money had completely disappeared. Casino gambling. Expensive stuff. Heavy equipment for a business that never happened. Fancy trips, status purchases. Quick decisions at high speed. Here's what people get wrong about sudden money. Getting a lot of money all at once doesn't fix bad money habits. It makes them bigger. If you already struggle with impulse control, $500,000 just gives your impulses more room to run. If you already like taking risks, millions don't make you careful. They convince you that taking risks is something you can afford now. How fast you spend matters more than how much you start with. Income grows slowly. Lifestyle grows slowly. Money shows up all at once. Lifestyle explodes overnight. Bigger house, faster car, more expensive vacations. Gambling that feels like nothing because your bank account looks huge. But if the way you think hasn't changed, the ending doesn't change either. $6 million could cover a comfortable life for decades in most places. $555,000 could wipe out debt, lower housing costs, create real investment income. Losing that money means losing all of that possibility. What makes these stories sad isn't just the money, it's the complete lack of discipline. Before they won and after. No plan, no strategy, no understanding that money runs out even when the number looks massive. The same emotional stuff from before is still there. Wanting rewards, wanting status, liking risk, wanting excitement. The only thing that's different is the size. And if you think this only happens with lottery winners, it doesn't. There's a way more acceptable version happening every day. It usually comes with leather seats and a luxury logo. Let's talk about cars. Now we get to one of the most common money illusions. Someone explains why they bought a Porsche SUV. The thinking sounds solid. It's used, it'll hold its value. The monthly payment is doable. The dealership has great service. Makes sense, right? Except it doesn't. The most dangerous sentence in personal finance is this one. I can afford the monthly payment. Being able to afford the payment isn't the same as being able to afford the car. A luxury vehicle costs more than just the note. There's depreciation, insurance, maintenance, what you're giving up by spending that money, interest. High-end SUVs lose a ton of value in the first few years. That badge on the front doesn't protect you from how car values work. Cars go down in value. That's just how it works. When you pay close to $90,000 for a car that might be worth tens of thousands less in a few years, you're not buying transportation. You're buying identity. The math gets even worse when there's debt involved. owing $65,000 on a car that could sell for less means you're underwater. Add a $1,500 monthly payment, and that money starts squeezing out room for savings, investing, emergency money. Then there's the bankruptcy truck situation. Filing for bankruptcy clears your debts. It doesn't clear your behavior. Walking into a dealership right after discharge to finance a $60,000 truck isn't rebuilding your credit. It's doing the same thing again with worse terms. High-risk borrowers get high-risk interest rates, more money going out, not more stability coming in. Cars are visible. That's the whole point. They show success in a way that retirement accounts don't. Nobody says anything about your savings rate. Everyone notices your new truck. But here's the truth. You don't drive your net worth around. You drive your ego. And when the payment is there to impress other people, the long-term cost doesn't feel urgent. Until money gets tight. Cars aren't the only trap. Some feel even smaller, almost harmless. Let's talk about split payments. Buy now, pay later. 4 easy payments, no big deal. Just split it up. Sounds harmless. Instead of $400 today, you pay $100 now and spread out the rest. The number feels smaller, more manageable, almost invisible. That's exactly the problem. When you don't feel the full price up front, the mental resistance goes away. Economists have a name for this: the pain of paying. When you hand over the full amount at once, your brain registers that you're losing something. When it's chopped into pieces, that feeling gets watered down. The urge to think twice fades away. Take someone making $50,000 a year. Rent is under $600. A purse costs $400. On paper, that shouldn't wreck you. But when the payments start stacking up, things change. 1 split purchase turns into 3. 3 turns into 6. Suddenly, you've got multiple small bills overlapping across different months. Each one feels harmless by itself. Together, they create pressure. The buy now, pay later market has exploded in the last few years. Tens of millions of people use these services, and usage keeps growing. That growth doesn't mean the product is evil. It means convenience is powerful. But convenience without discipline is dangerous. Here's the shift that happens. When everything can be broken into payments, what you think you can afford changes. Instead of asking, "Can I afford $400?" the question becomes, "Can I afford $100 today?" That mental shift lets you spend more without making more. This is how micro-debt culture forms. Not dramatic bankruptcy at first, just commitments piling up, bills that keep coming and slowly squeeze the space in your budget. People using these services probably didn't feel reckless when they started. They felt modern, flexible, smart. But stacking up small promises against future paychecks is still borrowing from tomorrow. It just looks cleaner on a screen. Every example we just went through looks different on the surface. Different incomes, different lifestyles, different reasons. But the pattern underneath is exactly the same. Quick rewards replace discipline. Lifestyle creep expands your fixed costs. Breathing room disappears. Then one thing goes wrong and everything gets exposed. That's what living beyond your means really looks like. Not private jets and yachts, not cartoon-level spending, just regular people stretching their income as far as it'll go and assuming things will keep working out. Here's the hard truth. Income can make you feel secure. Only having margin actually makes you secure. If you can't survive 6 months without panicking, your lifestyle is too tight. If every raise immediately goes toward upgrading your life, the problem isn't the economy. It's how things are structured. So, which example hit you hardest? The lottery millions or the 6-figure layoff? If this changed how you think about money, subscribe. Being comfortable without a cushion isn't success.